Here's your news for January 22nd, 2020. We've got some big news regarding WWE and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, as the deal between the two parties will continue for another 7 years. The next Saudi show is reportedly set to take place next month, and according to a graphic floating around online, the event will be a Super Showdown show and feature a huge stipulation. If the graphic is true, the show will see Kane face Universal Champion Bray Wyatt for the title in an Inferno match, where the only way to win is to set your opponent on fire. Though fans may recall that Wyatt debuted on the main roster at SummerSlam 2013 by defeating Kane in a Ring of Fire match, it's been over 13 years since the last WWE Inferno match, and according to fans, this advertisement is currently running in Saudi Arabia. Speaking of Wyatt, the Universal Champion is currently dealing with Kane and Daniel Bryan, but may soon be adding another superstar to his list of contenders. While speaking to the Dallas Morning News, Braun Strowman spoke about the career of his former mentor, and though he's currently feuding with Intercontinental Champion Shinsuke Nakamura, it seems Strowman has his eyes on The Fiend. He said, "It's been a pretty awesome process to watch Bray and what he's been able to accomplish. Still a brother. I love Bray to death. This Fiend thing is getting a little out of control. Honestly, I wouldn't mind having a shot at him one of these days and seeing what can happen." You never know. There's a lot of backstory and history between us, being that Bray Wyatt is pretty much the sole reason that the monster among men is what he is today, bringing him in with the Wyatt family and him being my mentor, my sensei. Sometimes the student has to one day show the sensei who the boss is. Whenever he's ready to step into the squared circle with me, I'm more than willing and ready. We've only really seen this version of Wyatt against smaller guys like Bryan and Seth Rollins. How about throwing him in with someone like Strowman and seeing what happens? Though Strowman has received Universal title matches before against the likes of Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns, he's always come up short, but a feud against Wyatt could be exactly what the monster needs. We're looking ahead to this Sunday's Royal Rumble now, as Edge's return is supposedly a lock. The Rated R superstar reportedly went to Pittsburgh recently, which led to speculation that he was wanting to get cleared by WWE's chief of medical there, but once again, Edge has denied any return. Appearing on Live 4 Legs, the former WWE champion stated that he isn't returning and also said he hasn't been to Pittsburgh in years. He said, "It's kind of funny to be honest. All of these rumors that I've been to Pittsburgh and I've been cleared to wrestle and I've signed a new contract, I have no idea where any of it came from," stated Edge. "The last time I was in Pittsburgh, I had my wrist fused in 2013. I don't know. I would go to Pittsburgh to see Pearl Jam for sure, but I haven't been there and I haven't signed a contract. I think I would know." I'll get this tsunami of comments saying, "You're coming back, you signed a contract." I really haven't. This isn't the first time Edge has denied that he's coming back as an active competitor following his 2011 retirement, and fans will have to wait and see whether the Canadian is being honest this Sunday at the Royal Rumble as the road to WrestleMania begins. Though Edge is claiming he won't be a part of this Sunday's 30-man match, one man fans may expect to see is NXT superstar Finn Balor. On Twitter, the Prince of the Gold brand said how those who come after him better not miss, though Curt Hawkins clearly didn't get what he meant, saying he did miss Balor, who moved from Raw to NXT last year. Responding to Hawkins, the inaugural Universal Champion said, "See you Sunday," implying some kind of involvement in this Sunday's Men's Royal Rumble match. Balor is slated to wrestle Ilya Dragunov the night prior at Worlds Collide, but given his conditioning, there's no reason why the Irish superstar wouldn't be able to wrestle 2 nights in a row and show up in the Men's Rumble match. Now, this week's edition of WWE Backstage saw the return of CM Punk after the straight edge superstar was absent for weeks, but you wouldn't have known it thanks to WWE. When the company promoted the show during Raw, Punk's face was nowhere to be found, as the graphic included Paige, Christian, Renee Young, and guest Becky Lynch. It's unknown why neither Punk nor Booker T were included on the graphic, but the Chicago-made star had plenty to say about the current product. When addressing Seth Rollins and Buddy Murphy becoming Raw Tag Team Champions, Punk said that the titles are often a prop for other stories, but gave it a thumbs up. When addressing the Raw Women's title situation, Punk, a known comic book fan, dived into the world of fiction for his comparison, saying that just like Batman has the Joker and Superman has Lex Luthor, Becky Lynch has found her arch-nemesis in Asuka. Of course, the panel also made their predictions for the Royal Rumble, and Punk gave the interesting call that NXT's Keith Lee will win the 30-man match. It's a bold prediction, especially as Lee hasn't even been announced for the Rumble match yet, and time will tell whether Punk's prediction comes true this Sunday. Over to AEW now, as the company pre-taped matches for Wednesday's Dynamite on Chris Jericho's second Rockin' Wrestling Rager at Sea cruise. Note that what we will say next will be a spoiler for tonight's show, so if you don't want to hear it, please skip the next minute. On the cruise, Hangman Page and Kenny Omega won the AEW tag titles from the SCU, marking the first tag title change in the company's history after Frankie Kazarian and Scorpio Sky won the titles on the October 30th edition of Dynamite in a tournament finals. Good mic work Greg said of the match, "Great match! Miscue with Hangman and Omega again, but they recovered to win. Bucks came out to celebrate with Omega, but Page went into the crowd to drink and never joined them." Hangman and Omega won a fatal four-way match on last week's show to become the #1 contenders, defeating the Young Bucks, Best Friends, and Proud and Powerful, and now that victory has clearly paid off. Other matches set for Dynamite include MJF vs Joey Janela, Britt Baker taking on Priscilla Kelly, the Jurassic Express facing the Inner Circle, and Jon Moxley vs Pac to determine the #1 contender for AEW World Champion Chris Jericho. Back to WWE now, and Humberto Carrillo certainly made an impression on this week's Raw when he stepped up to and challenged Andrade, and now the two will face off at the Royal Rumble. Following his return on Raw this past Monday, Carrillo issued a challenge to the US champion, saying that if Andrade wants to pick on someone, he should try and pick on him. In storyline, Carrillo was gone for a month following a hammerlock DDT by Andrade onto the exposed concrete, during a gauntlet match to determine the challenger for then US champion Rey Mysterio. Andrade would ultimately defeat Mysterio for the title in December, and though the ultimate underdog got beat during this week's ladder match on Raw, he's going to be okay. The Pro Wrestling Sheet reports that Mysterio was not injured during the match against Andrade for the title, and though he took some bad bumps, the master of the 619 won't be missing shows. The report reads, "Sources tell us it's been determined that Mysterio is not seriously injured, therefore he's cleared to continue competing and won't miss any time away from the ring to recover." With the Royal Rumble mere days away and WrestleMania on the horizon, the last thing Rey needs now is an injury, so it's good that he was able to escape this week's ladder match bruised but not broken and is cleared to work this Sunday's show. Over to SmackDown now, and ever since returning to face Bray Wyatt, Daniel Bryan has shown a new look, complete with shaved head and shorter beard. Speaking to MySanAntonio.com, Bryan revealed that it was his idea to cut the beard, but he would have preferred to keep his hair as it was before WWE incorporated it into his story. The idea was that The Fiend has taken something of many opponents he's faced, and ripping Bryan's hair from the roots would be a unique way to carry on the feud after Bryan was beaten already at Survivor Series. Of course, Wyatt didn't literally rip hair from the roots of his opponent, as Bryan explained that two barbers placed under the ring helped with the quick cut when the pair dove underneath the canvas on the November 29th edition of SmackDown. The feud between Bryan and Wyatt has been one of the most entertaining aspects of the Blue brand, as the Yes Man has proven that no matter how long his hair is, he can always deliver incredible performances after returning from his retirement. One person that knows all about how talented Bryan is in the ring is Triple H, though the WWE COO really put his foot in it recently with a comment about Paige. Making a comment that Paige has kids she don't know about, many didn't take the game's comments lightly, especially as Paige has been the victim of private photos being leaked and bullying online. During his conversations with the Big Guy podcast, Ryback spoke about Triple H's poor attempt at humor, saying that not only is it a joke usually reserved for men, but he also dropped the comment in Paige's homeland of the UK. Ryback said, "That's a joke typically you say about guys. I think that makes them look foolish, as how would she have kids she doesn't know about? I know it's jokes and haha, but it's a joke for guys and not typically for women," said Ryback. It comes off as a little bit of bullying to me, and I've seen how he is within that environment, and I think it was a little slip on his part from Hunter backstage to Hunter in the media. I've seen that all too often being there. With her background, I don't understand the point of knocking her over in the UK. She's loved over there. It just makes him look really foolish in my opinion, and I'm glad he apologized because he should. That's the kind of stuff when you make that joke, then she's gonna get hate from people too because he's doing it. It's a joke for guys and not a joke you make about a woman. I'm glad he apologized for it because it puts her in a bad position. Just imagine being her and it's demonizing because she likes to have sex? That's a whole other argument. There's a reason why Triple H apologized to Paige, as the women's revolution doesn't seem to be much if employers can use the trauma of female employees to make jokes, and Paige also revealed that the King of Kings reached out to smooth things over before issuing his public apology. Simply put, this situation was not a good one for anyone involved, and hopefully the cerebral assassin will think twice before he makes jokes to the media at the expense of an employee who has already gone through a lot. From one female of wrestling to another now, as Eva Marie may have left WWE in 2017, but she's still making headlines out of the ring. This week, the former Total Divas star tried to board a flight with Qantas Airlines but was denied entry into business class due to how she was dressed. Wearing a fitness attire, which makes sense given that her business is fitness, Marie is claiming that sexism is at play here. As though she was banned, her husband, Jonathan Coyle, was allowed into business class despite wearing fitness clothes as well, and was also showing off more skin than her. In a follow-up tweet, the former WWE superstar claimed that she didn't have an issue with an airline having a dress code, but that in her case, this dress code was only enforced on women and not men. It's hard to argue with Marie's claims that there's one rule for men and another rule for women, and hopefully Qantas will be able to offer up an explanation as to why she wasn't allowed to enter business class but her husband was. And finally today, we've got more news regarding travel, as Renee Young and Jon Moxley both have to travel a lot. While Young is dealing with airport security, her husband's work in AEW has sent him on a cruise ship, and Young took the time to recently poke fun at her own situation. On Twitter, the Canadian commentator said how her shoes always set off the alarms at TSA, and though she tries to present herself as a savvy businesswoman, that's easier said than done, when she has to remove her shoes and people see her mismatched Nike socks. Everyone knows how annoying going through the airport can be, especially when you're worried about missing your flight, so hopefully Young will be better coordinated next time as her job continues to take her around the world.